Hey guys, welcome to Clockwork Noodles for another breakdown of Vinland Saga Season 2, episode number 19. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and your continued support. My midway review is now up for you guys to go and have a little look. I have crowned top 3 OPs, EDs and current standing of animes. Halfway through the season, Golden Kamui has also come back. There will be a video tomorrow because Vinland Saga, it's had the spot for a while. Come out on the same day, but I will be doing Golden Kamui on Tuesdays. Before we get going, I do want to say, guys, please don't spoil. I know last week's video was a rough one, and I know some of you guys didn't really like my video, and that's fine. The one thing I do ask on the channel in particular and the community is we just don't do spoilers. I am an anime only on this one. I like going into these videos not knowing what's going to happen. Last week I ended up getting a spoiler for Arnheid's fate. It was spoiled for me in the comments. That just makes me really sad because I want to break these things down with you guys. Honestly, I feel like you guys maybe find it more interesting if I don't read the material up ahead. I got rid of the comment quite quickly, but again, please don't spoil. The one thing I ask on the channel, I don't really have many rules on Clockwork Noodles in general, just the Noodle Bowl is supposed to be a very friendly place, no spoilers, unless we are discussing things that are happening in the anime. If it has been shown on screen, we can talk about it, we can discuss it. That little bit over and done with, but I'm here to break down today's episode with you guys. In case you're not aware, episode 18.5 is out. I wasn't in the best mood with the channel at that point, so I haven't broken it down on the channel. Generally, it just fills in the gap of gathering the men. Do say 100 men, but then Snake says it's 350. I'm going to go with what Snake says. Canute has 100 men. I was wondering last week, why would people want to fight for Catil? Why would they be motivated to fight for him, even if they know it is the king? We are told that it's because they owe him a debt. They owe him money still, which is weird to me. 350 seems like a very big number. I guess I was quite shocked that he had that many people owed him money or were living on there, I guess. It's where they now believe that they owe him rent, because I think that's why Snake and his team end up joining in the end, is that they've got a tab that they owe him, conman or not. They did essentially wait last minute to tell them who the opponent was, which is a clever move because nobody would probably want to go if they knew who it was. Thorgil is very clever, and you can tell he's had army training. It definitely shows. Old unit are on the beach. When we had the sequence when Thorgil saw Canute, nobody recognised each other. There was no passing comments or anything. For me, it was a bit weird that this is the same unit that Thorgil is part of. Just imagining 100 Thorgils on that beach, you can see why they are getting massive. Not standing a chance. They're at a huge disadvantage. Now, I did see criticisms from last week about Thorfinn and Leif reuniting and it not even making screen time. It happens off screen, then you see them together. I personally think they did the right thing. I think after the events of last week, it just didn't feel right. But yes, I do agree that it's sad that we didn't have this long time reunion mean much. Even in real life, people do sometimes reunite in sad circumstance. It doesn't feel right to really have this big moment between you two because something bad has happened. I am hoping that eventually, if we ever get that Thorfinn versus Canute stand off, I don't know if they're going to fight or not. I do want that to be a bit bigger. I do want them to focus in on that a bit more. But last week's episode was just heavy, and you guys know I struggled to break it down. And in general, it wasn't a fun video to make. You can see Leif wanting to leave very quickly, but right now we are slowed. So it's almost a repeat of the Gadir situation where they want to try and get out of there, but they couldn't move him due to his wounds, and eventually they are able to use a bit of downtime whilst the army is fighting to get them out of there. Leif remarking on Thorfinn growing up and becoming more mature is such a nice little moment. When he says you look better, I think he's more saying that you're healthier of mind. When he sees grown up Thorfinn, it's a completely different person. Something had happened. Askeladd had then been killed, and then I think Thorfinn snaps and goes to attack Canute. I think that's the last time Leif probably saw him. Leif is one of my favourite characters of Vinland Saga, hands down, because at no point does he ever give up on Thorfinn. Stepped into the role that Thors couldn't provide, who was searching for him and who didn't want to give up. Maybe he owed something to Thors in general, but at the same time he just didn't want to leave Thorfinn out there. Really happy that he never gave up on Thorfinn. Canute showing us this week that he is indeed ready to fight. I am still shocked that Canute is finding time out of his busy schedule of running 2 different countries to actually do this personally. He has got I think they're called the Jorms Vikings. I'm probably saying it wrong. I do actually know of these guys. He could have easily left it to them. he didn't actually particularly need to be there in person. The result would have pretty much been the same. Even if there is a bit of a shake-up with what Thorgil's about to do, I don't really think it's going to be Ketil winning. I think it is going to be a win for Canute. From last week's very heavy episode, I'm still reeling from the Ketil switch of personality. I don't quite know how to say it, because we saw him panicking and not wanting to go heavy on beating the child. But now we've got the man who's actually telling people to get into battle. Still strange for me to get my head around it, the shift in his personality. His downfall was going to be getting cocky, learning about Canute's small force, because you really shouldn't be underestimating anybody. Just because they are small doesn't mean that they're not talented. I did also notice the blade that Ketil is carrying. I can't remember the name on this one either, but the famous swords that keep being found in Europe, writing in the middle of the blade. Interesting fact about those blades in particular, could be wrong, is that people don't know who made them. I know it's got the name on it, but they can't find a place where they've come from. And these swords are in very good condition, so they don't exactly know how they were made and why they're in such good nick and what processes have led them to be the way that they are. I think he's holding one of those very famous blades. I don't know if he's going to give us any lowdown on where it's come from, but it would be all just speculation, because even the archaeologists don't quite know much about these blades in particular. Let's talk about my other favourite character, Snake, who provides us an info dump about the units. A bit curious to how Snake knows so much. I am also a little bit worried that they've crushed the backstory that they were planning for Snake into this little bit, because we do get to see how Snake met the real Ketil, and then he met the Fate. From what I have gathered, Snake was trained by the real Iron Fist Ketil. Iron Fist Ketil is not the current Ketil who owns the farm. The farm guy is the con man, as he states. He ended up on the run because apparently he had done something. We don't get much more information about this. He ends up running to find this Ketil, thinking this is the Ketil that raised me. He was faced by a con. Ketil isn't the real deal. He's not actually Iron Fist. Love the moment we see him preparing for battle. We see him putting on a gambus that goes underneath the chainmail, providing more layers and more protection. He really looks like Thors with his hair tied back. I thought Thors was a very good looking character. Snake is also a very good looking character. Just really sad because it's Vinland Saga, and don't really like picking favourite characters when it comes to battles and stuff, because knowing me, Snake is probably going to also meet a very unhappy ending due to the nature of Vinland Saga. Wish we'd had a bit more time to learn about him. I don't really feel like we're going to get his backstory unless it's an 18.5. I haven't had a chance to really sit down and watch it. I just wasn't really in a good headspace when it came to Vinland Saga, so I just skipped the video, and I've done this one in particular with you guys. If you guys tell me that 18.5 is worth watching, I will go ahead and watch it. I know he's a shady character. He's great as well. He says he wants to keep as many of those 350 men alive as possible. He knows they're going to lose, but regardless, he wants to try and keep as many people alive as possible, which it's still honourable. I still think it's a very honourable thing. He wants to repay a debt, despite the fact that he knows Ketil is a con. It doesn't bother him. He still wants to repay a debt. He also allows his men the opportunity to flee if they want to. You don't have to be here. You've got enough time to get out of there. And he also tries to get them to keep the secret. I also think he's telling them to keep it secret because he doesn't want to affect the morale of the forces. He also provides a very honest outlook to Ketil on the battlefield before we get going. It's like, this is the last time I'm going to give you this option, but we are going to lose. It's going to be really sad if something does happen, because I've really enjoyed seeing him on the screens. We do get a quick look at Thorgil and his tactics. Very happy to play dirty. I'm going to use these guys as fodder. Very different from how we've just seen Snake. He essentially mentions that Canute had an undefended back. That gave me a good old hint at what he was going to do. He was going to count to 100, as he put it. We see at the end of the episode that he is emerging out the water. Undefended Canute essentially get the element of surprise. But Canute isn't a slouch. We've seen Canute fighting already. He also plays dirty, so perhaps a fight between these two would be pretty interesting to see. Maybe that's what we're going to get next week. Thorgil just goes straight for the leader. It's cowardly tactics, but it's war. Anything goes in war. I was very happy to see Thorfinn and his friends leaving the area. Just didn't want them in combat. Signal that we weren't going to get a Canute and Thorfinn eye-to-eye scene. I don't really want us to go straight into it and essentially push the plot. I'm okay with waiting. It really does feel like they've swapped personalities entirely. Thorfinn's able to smile now. And Canute, well, I haven't really seen him smile. We've seen him do the grin, but it's not a smile which he used to do when he was younger. Let's go into the cart scenario. Just like Gadir, a lot of similarities. We've got a very drained of colour sequence. I like this one as well because the symbolism is slightly different. She's also been seen with both of her kids. You know that both of them have passed away. I did think it was quite peaceful. She's surrounded by her family. Gadir is there. He's driving her into the afterlife. In the the screen, you've got them emerging from the darkness. The woods are behind them and they are going into the light, passing from the pain and the darkness into a warm home, as he puts it. Wolf and the stag symbolism, what I can kind of get from it is that through resilience, no matter how resilient you can be, even in the darkest of times, you can actually forge a living, or you can try and not give up on life. Gadir letting Arnheid say her last goodbyes was quite nice, because I think he realised that she had been looked after. So as much as it was the darkness and they both had a very sad end, he realised that she had been cared about and Aina and Thorfinn had looked after her. It feels different a little bit. It feels a bit more peaceful composed to the very lonely ending that I thought Gadir had. Obviously, he meets his child at the end, which found this one a bit more comforting. There's somebody there for her. He asks her, "Are you afraid?" I like that. I think it's nice for him to be there on the other side. Do not like Knut's helmet. It is the first of his helmets that I don't want to make. I have made his season 1 helmet. Don't like this one. I know it's supposed to look imposing and scary if it's a bit too fantastical, because even the season 1 one is fantastical for a Viking helmet. I think the more realistic is the ones that you're seeing Snake wear, or the second helmet that Knut wears in the fight against the guy. I think that's a bit more realistic. I think this might just be creeping into the too much territory for me. But he does look quite devilish, which I think is quite ironic for him trying to portray a darker character this season. It ends on that slight cliffhanger where we have Thorgil getting ready to pounce. That is roughly where we are. We now only have 5 episodes to go. Very excited to see what we cover. Probably hazard a guess that we're going to see the battle arc out. Maybe Knut decides that he doesn't want to pursue them or anything, because theoretically he doesn't know they've left. I mean, he wouldn't see people who are opposing him. I want to believe that Knut is very much, if you don't fight me, I'm not gonna fight you. But if you start a fight, I'm gonna give you hell. I want to believe that if he meets undefended farmers, he won't do anything. But it is Vinland Saga and anything kind of goes as we have seen. I still want to believe that he would show mercy to somebody not carrying a weapon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys are looking after yourselves. Golden Kamui will be coming out tomorrow. That is episode number 7. Really miss Golden Kamui. Thank you guys so much. We will see maybe the conclusion of the fight next week. I will see you guys again soon. Bye bye.